Hello YouTube. Recently I had a video recommended to me named something like how to build a big back. And as an hypertrophy enjoyer, of course, I had to click. But I was very surprised to see that the video was actually by Ivan Djuric, who is a YouTuber that I follow that is not a bodybuilder at all. He's also not known for having a good physique, so I was very curious to hear what he had to say. And these were the first words of his video. How do you get a wide, thick, powerful looking back? It's simple. All you gotta do is take your pictures and videos in nice lighting. So clearly I had been clickbait, had been bamboozled. The video was not about what I thought it was going to be. It was actually a rant about social media, about Instagram, and how everything is fake. People touch up their pictures, what you see is not really what you get, and that consuming that content non-stop was actually very dangerous for you as a young man because it feeds your body dysmorphia and it feeds you unrealistic standards. And I think the video was actually quite good. I don't agree with any of it. In terms of factual statements, I'm 100% aligned with Ivan. But I had a problem the more I listened to him because I came to realize one thing. Underneath the veneer of realism and honesty that he carried in his video, because his message was true and real and honest, I perceived the black pill. I perceived a very dangerous sentiment and message, because to me, these words were the words of a doomer. And as the title indicates, doomers will always have small backs. So what exactly do I mean by this? If I agree with his message, what is my fucking problem? Well, first, let's talk about his message, right? Because I summarized it, but it's actually quite deep and interesting. So his point was that social media is all illusion. And he is correct. Everything you see on social media is bullshit. It's not a proper reflection of reality. What you see is never what you get. The guy that you see in the picture doesn't actually look like this. In fact, he didn't even look like this when the picture was taken. It's only through the picture, through your phone, that he looks so good. And I can tell you that because I do the same thing. I know what I look like in real life in a mirror, and I know what my pictures look like. For those of you that have Instagram, go look up my latest pictures on Instagram. I look completely different than I'm looking right now. Why? Because pictures make you look better. There's no way around it. You always look better in a picture. And that's only if you just take a random pic. But if you actually know how to optimize, like all of these guys do on Instagram, and you know how to flex, you know how to pump and all of that, it's even better. You can be 160 and look average with small arms. In a picture, you will look like an absolute god. So that was a solid point by Ivan. When you see these pictures, always remember this. This is a picture of a guy flexing with a pump, with perfect lighting, and on top of that, this is the one picture he shared with you, meaning that he took hundreds of them, and out of the selection process, this is the one he decided to share with his audience, meaning that it's the best one. So of course, this is a completely unrealistic standard. It does not reflect reality. It's not even an accurate reflection of the guy's body. But you see that, you go into your bathroom to take a piss, you look at yourself in the mirror with no pump and natural lighting, and you tell yourself, wow, I look like shit. Well, of course, you compare yourself to someone who's not even real. Of course, you look like shit. This is absolutely garbage for your mental health. Avoid doing that as much as possible. But I think we've gotten to a point, I hope, where most people are aware of that. Most people should be aware that every influencer is doing it because it's the only way to get big. Everyone is only sharing their best pictures, and it is now part of the game. I know it's sad. I wish it wasn't like this, but now you have enough tools and enough weapons on your side to be able to protect yourself. You should know better at this point. And you should know better also because most of these guys have started to fess up. I'm certain that you've started to see all of these Instagram posts of this is what I look like in a good picture and this is what I actually look like. This should alarm you to the state of irony that we've reached, that now the very same influencers that fed you these Photoshop pictures for years, they're starting to go back and say, oh, just kidding guys, this is what I actually look like. Why do they do that? They do that because the gig is up. We have entered what I personally call the post-irony meta, where people will openly show you comparisons between good and bad shots. So at this point, they're honest with it, you know what's up, so what exactly is the problem? What is wrong with it, and why did Ivan feel the need to make a video about it? Well, I think he did this because he perceived, just like I do, that it made absolutely no difference. This pseudo honesty on Instagram, on social media, does nothing because it doesn't stop you from continuing to being exposed to these bodies, because these guys still post pictures that are not actually reflecting their bodies in an honest way. You cannot stop consuming it because you keep scrolling, you're addicted to social media, and therefore you are just as impacted as if you actually were not unaware. It has the same effects on your mental health. Whether you know if the guy's picture is doctored, bullshit or not, you are still seeing something that is so far removed from what you look like that you cannot help but feel bad about it. And therefore, nothing in reality has changed. Ivan was correct to rant about it. You are still being impacted negatively, and your self-esteem is still being shattered. So if that's true, what exactly is my problem with Ivan's message? Well, as I told you, the issue is not with what he said, but rather the reason why he said it and the result on his audience and on himself. To me, it reeks of the black pill. Recognizing that social media is all smokes and mirror is a good thing. But if you take it a step further and you start to use it as an excuse to explain your lack of results, that is when it turns into a cope. And you see that type of people more and more nowadays, that have shitty physiques or bad results for a reason or another. But instead of just taking responsibility and trying to change, what they do is they use the excuse of social media being fake and they run with it. And they'll tell you, well, maybe I look bad, but it's because I don't cheat on my pictures. So actually I don't look that bad. It's just that the other guys are not actually that big. You also see that with natty status. You know, I don't like PD users. At this point, it's not a secret. But you know who I hate more than PD users? It's natty lifters who use their natty status as a reason and as an explanation as to why they're small. If you're small, it's not because you're natural, it's because you don't train enough, you haven't trained long enough, or you don't know how to train. Stop using your natty status as an excuse. You can be big and be natural. There are many examples out there. At this point, I think that these people are just as dangerous as the fake natties because they do the same thing. A fake natty is going to completely destroy your standards because it's going to show you something unrealistic. But someone who's black pill and who gave up does the same thing. They lower your standards down and they make you comfortable with being mediocre. And that is just as unacceptable. But the difference is that this type has the moral high ground. These are the natties that will tell you that just being natty is sufficient. Not taking drugs is sufficient. But that's your base state, motherfucker. You were born like this. There is no pride in being natty and being small. You must accomplish something to be worthy of calling yourself a noble natty because you have made something with your body. And this is the dangerous message I sensed in Ivan's video. Underneath, this is the type of things that people tell themselves to get ᴅᴏᴏᴍᴇʀ. This is what his audience is looking for. They want someone to tell them that their shitty physique is okay because at least they're not cheating. But why exactly do they feel bad about their bodies? Is it fake natty's fault? Maybe, but it's also because they have shitty looking bodies. This is where the problem starts. So if you tell them that it's not your fault, it's just that unrealistic standards are pushed upon you, you can actually rest easy, what is the difference that is going to be made? There's no difference being made. We're this close to the type of excuses that fat people feed themselves, because apparently they don't feed themselves enough as is, who tell themselves, well, it's not that I'm ugly, it's society that has decided on these bullshit standards, I'm actually beautiful. Wrong. This person knows that they're not beautiful. They tell themselves that because it makes them feel better. Does it have a positive impact on their life? No, because it offers no solution. So keep that in mind. Thinking that everything on social media is fake is just as damaging to your mind that believing that everything on it is real. Both the kid that believes that every fake natty is actually natural and who follows their advice, and the one that trusts absolutely no one and thinks that nothing is possible naturally, both of them are wrong because both of them have unrealistic standards. But the type of people that are going to actually be attracted by Ivan's message are people in that second category, which I think is not surprising because he himself is fairly black-pilled, and he said it himself in the video. He spent, 10 years on social media, apparently looking up to these guys and never being able to replicate their results. So what happened to him? Well, he stopped trusting anyone. But when you stop trusting people and you start to believe that you can accomplish nothing with your body, who did you exactly stop trusting? Yourself. That is what these fake natties do, and that is what the black pill does. The black pill is when you have actually stopped trusting yourself, and nothing can be worse than that. The problem that I see with black pill lifters is that they like to present this mindset as being real. And I saw that in his comments as well. People preached him for being real. Oh, you're so real. You're so honest. Yes, he is. Absolutely. He didn't lie a second. But you need to see underneath the lie. What propped up the lie? And what makes you feel so connected to him? Well, you're connected because you are kindred spirits. Just like him, you have started to believe that your body is dysmorphia, or you feeling bad about the way your body looks was actually other people's fault. You started to blame other people for pushing unrealistic standards upon you because you call them unreal. You are not wrong. They are unreal. But your new standards of trusting nothing and thinking it's impossible to make it big natty, that is just as unreal. And it's just a way to feel better about yourself without actually having to put in any work. Because if you have two choices, one saying, okay, well, maybe people out there are lying, but I bet that I can still get a nice looking body natty, or saying, well, all of these people lie, and this is a clear sign that being big naturally is impossible. Which one takes more work? The first one, because you'll have to actually prove to yourself that statement. The second one, you can just shrug your shoulders and give up. Most doomers are like this. It's people who want to believe, but perceive that to believe you have to do, and they don't want to do, so they just give up. But if they actually looked at this reality that they claim to represent, they would have seen that there are plenty of natural lifters that have built big and aesthetic looking bags and who look great in natural lighting, who do not need to cheat. I'm going to put some of them on the screen right now. I'm not even going to include myself. I don't need to. I have peers who are just as big, sometimes bigger than me, who look absolutely tremendous. I can vouch for them being natural. So if I can show you this, isn't that the proof that you also have the potential? Are you going to cope and tell me that, oh, well, they're on PEDs, or oh, the lighting is good, or they have better genetics? That's what doomers and black pill lifters do all the time. Whenever you try to offer a solution for their misery, they always find a way to spin out of it. They always find a way to say, no, I'm going to cling to my misery, thank you very much. How is that a worthy life to live as a man? It's not, and yet it's the type of mindset you can expect from people who have given up. But I don't blame them. I understand where it's coming from. I understand that when you have been burned so many times by YouTube fitness, it is tempting to give up, because it is tempting to think that since you've been lied so many times, maybe this life itself is a lie. Maybe fitness itself is a lie. But when you buy into this, you have actually bought into the ultimate lie. You have actually bought into the ultimate cope, and you can bet that you will make no progress from this point, because you have stopped believing in your very ability to progress, and nothing could be sadder than that. And I think this is what happened to Ivan. Ivan's physique is extremely subpar. He essentially has a dad bod, and he looks completely mediocre, even below mediocre. And I'm certain many people would stop there and tell me, okay, NH, that's just being mean. Well, I'm mean, but I'm also being realistic. That's what actually honesty is. It's not bullshitting yourself to feel better. Ivan looks like garbage. Straight up. And if you're going to take a step back and tell me, well, he looks normal, yes, and yes, he looks like the average man. He looks slightly better than the average man. But isn't fitness and the entire goal of this thing to look better than the average man? Did you get into it to get a dad bod? I don't fucking think so. I think that you got into it because you wanted to have a six-pack, big arms, big shoulders. But for a reason or another, you didn't get that. And now you're trying to cope by saying that actually just looking mediocre is acceptable. That's not acceptable. That's the reason for your misery. It's because you settled for mediocrity by telling yourself that greatness was unachievable. Now, yeah, of course, if you chase the standard of someone who takes drugs and who is 260 pounds, that can be very damaging. But as I said, having no standards whatsoever can be even worse. And most naturals suffer from that. Most naturals are not deluded enough to look at Seabud and think they're going to look like him. But a lot of natties do the exact opposite, where they tell themselves, okay, well, this is not achievable, but then they take their standards all the way the fuck down, and they'll say something like, well, having 3D shoulders is not possible. Having abs is not possible. Having 18 inches arms is not possible. This is worse. This is worse, because if you had super high standards and you worked for it, worst case scenario, you'll still look great. But if you shoot for the lowest possible result every single time, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get the lowest possible result every single time. And that's never going to make you happy. I know that the black pill is a defense mechanism of sorts. It's when life has beaten you up so many times that you just give up on everything and you think, okay, if I have no expectations, then surely life cannot get any worse. It's not going to work like this. Your heart is always going to expect things. You cannot artificially lower your standards so much that now you're okay with everything. You know you cannot be okay with these things. Ivan himself is not okay with that because in the video you can clearly sense that he's not a big fan of his body. And he shouldn't be a big fan of his body in my opinion because he could look so much better. But instead, he tries to convince himself that he should be proud of his results. If you have to tell yourself, I should be proud, you're not actually proud. You can't talk yourself into being proud. It's not how it works. You can't brainwash yourself into loving your body. The only thing that works and the only way to build pride is to actually put in the effort. How do you love your body? You build something worthy of being loved. That's it. All of that self-love talk, again, that fat people like to spin, all of that body positivity, it doesn't work. Telling someone that knows they look like shit, they should love themselves, doesn't work. The only way that functions is to change the thing that they don't love into something that can actually be loved. It's the only way around it. The reason why people don't do it is because it takes effort. Whereas coping and saying, well, I'm perfect the way I am, that takes 2 seconds. But guess what? It has absolutely no results on your mental health. And isn't that the point? Wasn't Ivan's complete message mental health, how to feel better about yourself? The solution can never be to just reject those standards as unrealistic because it's these standards that would make you happy. It's to get a body looking like this that would make you happy. So what is the actual concrete solution? It's to put in the work and to put in an actual honest and realistic attempt. Because the truth, as I said, is that Ivan could greatly improve his physique if he stopped following a minimalist strength routine and trained for bodybuilding instead. How crazy of an idea is that people who train for aesthetics tend to get more aesthetic bodies on average. And yet, people in his comments, I guarantee you, for the most part, fall into what I call strength copers. It's people who sort of train for strength, even though they have no passion for it. Then they look in the mirror and they say, well, I look like shit. Yes, because you don't train for aesthetics. Then they'll look at a natural bodybuilder and they'll say, oh, that's unrealistic, he's not natty. Really? He's natty just like you are. It's just that he's doing things properly and you're not. He actually has understood self-love. He built something that he could love. You instead trying to run in the opposite direction. And I see that so many times. Dude who want a better looking body. They want to be bigger and to look aesthetic, but they don't get it immediately. So they say, okay, fuck it, I'll do the exact opposite. I'll strength max or I'll bloat max. And then they're miserable. Well, of course, you turn your back on your own happiness. And now you even have started to detest your own happiness because these types tend to also detest aesthetic. And of course, they defend themselves by telling you that it's because it's unrealistic and all of that nonsense. I don't think that's true. I think that it's because it's the reflection of what they desire, but that they were never actually able to achieve for the reasons I explained earlier. And at the end of the day, again, it doesn't bother me, it doesn't bother the people that you're going to point out as being unrealistic. The only person that actually suffers from it is you. So be honest with yourself. The black pill is a pill. Remember where it came from. Red pill, blue pill. What was that supposed to do? The red pill was supposed to open your eyes. It was an anti-pill. The blue pill was supposed to keep you asleep. What is the black pill? The black pill is just another blue pill. It's just another comfortable lie you tell yourself to feel better. Spit the fucking black pill. Take the red pill and your life is going to immediately improve. But if you don't and you actually swallow that black pill, what is going to happen to you is that this lie that you told yourself is going to become your reality. I think that doomers are honest when they tell you that they think that their view of the world is the honest one. It is. It's because your perception of the world is the world. If you start telling yourself that nothing is possible and that every good physique is impossible to achieve and unrealistic, guess what? That's going to become true. That is going to become your reality. You have created your own hell, or the object of your desire is out of reach because you've convinced yourself that it was out of reach. And this is the end result of what doomers call being real. They push away solutions by calling them illusions, and they end up rejecting reality itself. The black pill is a delusion. You are not seeing reality, you are seeing the version of reality that makes you comfortable with being who you are. It makes you comfortable with misery. And it makes you say delusional things. Ivan, for example, claims that he could follow a proper regimen and diet for 5-6 years and still see no improvements in aesthetics. That is completely delusional. Ivan, I know that you're subscribed to my channel. I have nothing against you, bro. But I don't think that the message you're sharing with your audience is valid. And I also don't think that you're treating yourself kindly. I think that you deserve better for yourself. And that if what you want is to be able to look better and to love yourself a bit more, you should take a step back from strength and follow a bit more aesthetic-based routine. And if, for some reason or another, you decide that that's what you want, I would be happy to help you. I'd be happy to actually work with you, change your routine, and I guarantee you that in a year we can make drastic improvements. In a year in your physique. I believe in that 100%. But the question is, do you believe it? And do the people that are watching that are not him are believing it right now? Because keep in mind that the difference between those who make it and those who don't is belief. If you don't believe in your ability to look better, you will never look better. And it's as simple as that. All of the rest is just mental gymnastics that are only done in an effort to protect your ego from being shattered. Doomers are so afraid of having their feelings being hurt that they refuse to take any attempts that could actually result in them being disappointed. But guess what? The man that never attempts never fails, yes, but he also never succeeds. It is much worse. It's best to take 15 attempts and to fail 15 times than to never actually make an attempt in the first place. And that to me points to another massive inconsistency in doomers. They pretend that their black pill mindset is enlightenment when it is only a childish attempt at protecting their own feelings from being hurt by reality. In truth, all of these guys, all of these doomers and black pill lifters, they are the most ego-driven because they have put the protection of their ego at the center of their being. It is now their most important asset, and anything that is going to hurt that ego, they will reject, which also means that they'll never get anywhere because you have to put yourself to the test. And the best way to actually verify that as a truth is to call them losers and cowards. Go into the comments of this video and see how many of them get upset. Why? It's because deep down, no one likes being a coward. No one likes being a loser. So when you probe and you prod at their ego, something happens. And this is a good sign. It's a sign that your pride is not entirely dead yet, but instead of having a childish knee-jerk reaction and attacking the messenger, why don't you attack the reason why you feel like this in the first place? You feel like this because you do not have anything to be proud of. So you are trying to protect the little bits you have left. That's bullshit. Expand yourself. Don't just be with your tiny little ego in that tiny little pocket in your heart that is worth shit. That's mediocrity that you've started to accept because anything beyond that is scary. Don't be afraid. Go into the fray. Leave that black pill. Spill it out and you will feel so much better. I guarantee you that. Because the only way to snap yourself out of that state is to become cognizant of that state. And it's tough. You see, Ivan is a good example. I don't think that Ivan is making these videos to hurt his audience. That would be ridiculous. He doesn't really do it on purpose. He does it like every single person who is black pill does it. He projects the way he feels about the world on others. And if you're someone who's downtrodden and doesn't quite like their life, you're very likely to resonate with what he has to offer because he reinforces the way you feel about your own existence. That is very dangerous, but I understand why you are attracted by this type of influencers. But it does you no good. Entering an echo chamber where everyone else has given up does you no good. You should actually seek out hurt. This message right now is the best thing for you. It's a white pill. Yes, it's painful, but it's the only solution because it's a solution. Coping is not a solution. A coping mechanism should allow you to eventually surpass the trauma or surpass the situation that is harming your life. The black pill does not have that power. So it's good to be realistic. It's good to be aware of what is out there. But if your reaction to it is to say, okay, well, I can trust no one and the world sucks and nothing is possible, you went way too far. Yes, fitness influencers touch up their pictures, but don't use it as an excuse to justify your shitty physique. And that goes for the fake natties, but it also goes for people who are trying to make you feel better and not be better. these are also just as dangerous because they are giving you excuses to justify your shortcomings, often through projection, as I explained, and that's just as dangerous. They might not be after your money, but you're still paying them a hefty price. And the price that you're paying for the comfort that they provide is your potential. And you should never let that happen. At this point, you have to be extremely careful with fitness because it's now divided between people who lie and people who call out the liars. One feeds you blue pills, the fake natties, and the other ones, the ones that in reality prey on the fake natties because their business is on exposing the fake natties and the unrealistic standards, these people feed you black pills. And these ones are becoming very popular and powerful nowadays. I'm starting to see non-fitness channels, fucking normies like PewDiePie, making videos about fitness saying, oh, they're all on PEDs. What is he accomplishing by doing that? He's being real, sure, but he's also blackpilling the fuck out of his audience. People who have never even started lifting will say, okay, well, if PewDiePie says it, it must mean that building muscle naturally is not possible because it's unrealistic. Great, good job. It's actually worse than what the fake natties are doing. It's actually worse because it destroys the potential of an entire generation before they can even get started. All of these people, all of these efforts, what is that coming to? What is the end point? The end point is that it takes you away from the only thing that actually matters, and that's action. Ivan was correct when he was pointing out that fake natties aim to destroy your self-esteem to then be able to sell you an overpriced fix. He was right. All of these assholes who are on grams of drugs who tell you, well, if you want a big bag, buy my supplement or buy my program. All of this is just a manipulation tactic to make money out of your insecurities. He was absolutely correct. But what fix does Ivan offer? He's correct on that front. But what is the next step? What do we do next? Do we just give up? Do we just say, well, clearly it's impossible to get a big back. It's all lighting angles and PEDs. No, we take actions. We take responsibility. We look at examples out there and we say, okay, we have proof that it's possible to build a big back naturally. So if that guy could do it, I can do it as well. This is what was missing in Ivan's message because, as I said, I think that since he never managed to get that himself, he has stopped believing that it is possible. But I can tell you, as someone who started skinny and who's now jacked, that it's absolutely possible. It is doable for 100% of people as long as you don't swallow the blue pill or swallow the black pill. And since, as I explained, your potential and the realization of that potential is the only thing that will make you truly happy in life, you must protect it with everything that you have. Never surrender it. Never surrender your personal responsibility. Once you do, it's over because you have relinquished your very ability to take action and change your life. So I hope that this video gave you the weapons to resist the black pill and to not become a doomer. Instead, you're going to develop self-esteem, an esteem that, once it's built, can never be touched. All of these unrealistic standards won't do nothing to you anymore because you know what you have and you will be very proud of what you have. That is the solution. That is what was lacking in Ivan's video. It gave no hope. There is a hope. This hope is you. This hope is action. And if you don't put it into action, there will never be a solution. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.